Last night, after we finished up with the Timcast IRL show, we got word that TikTok had permanently banned our account. Now, this hasn't happened before, and permanent ban is a loose term, but it's what they say. And we can potentially appeal it. We'll see what happens. Now, my understanding of TikTok bans is that they just remove your content and only ban you if you are an egregious violator of the rules, meaning like your account is designed to post garbage. If your account is legitimate, it's a business, they typically just remove the content they don't like. This is most likely because we hosted Alex Jones, and especially on more than one occasion. We've had problems with clips relating to Alex Jones, and recently they took down one of our videos. We appealed it, they restored it and said it was fine because Alex didn't say anything against the rules, which just goes to show you that the rules, for the most part, are arbitrary. I say for the most part because you know if you do something, they'll come after you. But often with people like Jones, they just ban you anyway. Now, I know a lot of people respond by saying, why are you even on TikTok? Well, why wouldn't we be? TikTok apparently now has surpassed YouTube in watch minutes. It's not the same thing. TikTok is not podcast platform material. YouTube did not want to be TikTok a long time ago. YouTube wanted to be TV, and they got their wish. And now they'll likely struggle in many ways because of it. YouTube is trying to do shorts, which would effectively compete with TikTok, but it's not going to work. You have a core platform. That's it. A long time ago, YouTube used to be short viral clips because people got their TV from TV. People started watching things like Vice on YouTube, and Vice was getting millions of views. Netflix came out with streaming services, and that's what freaked YouTube executives out. I know this because I've met with them and talked to them about it, and I told them they were wrong. This is the path they wanted to go down. It's funny. 10 years on, here I am. Right. You see, back then, YouTube was saying, we are losing viewers because Netflix provides premium content. And I said, people don't go to YouTube for TV shows. They go for YouTube. Most of the biggest people on YouTube are not TV shows. Stop trying to make them TV shows. Help the talent on the platform succeed and create a meritocratic system where the best content rises to the top. And they said, no, we want Game of Thrones. We want TV. Okay. What happens now? You see Snapchat, you see Instagram, and you see TikTok. And TikTok gets more traffic, more minutes viewed than YouTube. That being said, you're on YouTube right now because it's a better platform for long-form content, because it's what YouTube ultimately wanted. Now, back to the censorship. The funny thing is, we did get censored on our first Alex Jones episode, and maybe there is something good here, potentially. What I mean is, censorship is it's all bad, right? Banning the content and removing us from TikTok is bad, but when YouTube censored our Alex Jones episode, and many of other episodes that were at risk were just hosted in other places. That's a threat to YouTube's system. I mean, they're the dominant video platform to a certain degree. You could argue now that TikTok is becoming that. Regardless, I know TikTok, China, all that bad stuff. But we still want to make sure we have a presence on places where we can provide influence and share our political opinions. The content we would post on TikTok was not long form. It was like a few minutes. In fact, I can just show you our Instagram, and you can see what these clips are. Let's go, Brandon. The gang is skeptical about Biden's approval polls. I'm living proof. YouTuber Ails Garcella shares that she started getting demonetized after she left the left. These are our clips. They're not offensive. They don't break any rules, but TikTok still removed us. Here's what I think is going to happen. Whether intentional or not, I don't know. YouTube is waning. YouTube's dominance in the video space is starting to falter because of platforms like TikTok. YouTube clearly tries to counter this, but it just ultimately isn't working. Maybe we'll see, but I don't think so. Now, YouTube does provide an excellent way for people to make money, but still, it's very difficult. The thing about TikTok is it's just short videos and people can make easy content for free, and businesses struggle to compete with that. YouTube will eventually, in my opinion, start to become like Facebook. Facebook right now is mostly boomers. There are a lot of regular people on it, but young people, they're on TikTok. So Facebook becomes a product of the old. And we've seen Facebook bleeding out users for some time, mostly Gen Z. YouTube was very, young, but now people are aging, and even YouTube will go down the same path as Facebook. Just like with Yahoo News back in the day. Sure, it still exists. Its influence, I shouldn't say Yahoo News, yahoo.com. Its influence wanes dramatically and no one really cares about it, but it's there. And then TikTok will become the dominant platform. With TikTok's more extreme rules, and yes, TikTok is substantially more extreme than any of the other platforms, exemplified by the fact that I'm not banned on any other platform, you can see just what's going to happen. This is likely, Chinese influence, perhaps, because TikTok told us, or at least our understanding was, we're not going to ban you because you're not purposefully violating the rules. You just host conversations that sometimes do. No, they permanently banned us, probably because they don't like Alex Jones, and here we are. This is the direction of the internet. This is the direction the establishment and the elites want it to go. They don't want you to be able to have these conversations. And like I say over and over again, it's only a matter of time before we don't exist. So what did we do? Well, we made our speakeasy, Timcast.com. Go to Timcast.com, become a member. There is a whole lot of content. All of our journalists, we've got writers. We've got a team of writers producing content, original reporting, as well as aggregate reporting. We've got members-only content, new shows being created. Tales from the Inverted World just launched. The next episode is going to be amazing with new visuals. And we are using the money from your memberships to do those things. Because it will be soon that the rest of our content is removed. Right now, Timcast IRL is it's an iTunes top podcast. We're not the biggest in the world, but we certainly host conversations that rub the establishment the wrong way. The funny thing is, there are a lot of top conservative podcasts that don't. They don't rub the establishment the wrong way. We do. I don't know exactly why, but let's be honest. I mean, I think most conservative podcasts are in the top do rub the establishment the wrong way, but they get supported, they get propped up. And for whatever reason, I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. But I do think we're likely to get banned before most people. And maybe it's because I'm a bit more obstinate and arrogant when it comes to my personal opinions. I don't play into tribalism, so I don't have the same support. Even right now, as we are getting banned, Trump supporters are cheering for it. Not all of them, mind you, but many are saying good because they don't like me. Well, that's the path you go down. If the only option is to either pick a tribe and adhere to their dogma or cultural leadership, well, that's not true freedom, is it? But that's the direction we're going. I don't know. I actually think that the show we do and the opinions we have are rather unique in many respects because we don't necessarily just align with anyone on the left or right because we're fairly moderate and eclectic in our political opinions. But this is the direction that's going to happen, is that we're going. I certainly think, you'll see conservatives banned in many respects well before I'm banned. Certainly people like Alex Jones have already been banned. But this is the point. We want to be on TikTok. We want to be able to share content with people who normally wouldn't see it. Well, TikTok said the hard line was letting people hear Alex Jones. No, he didn't say anything crazy. He's just talking about the Federal Reserve and things like that. Doesn't matter. They don't want Alex Jones to have any kind of presence in this new ecosystem. At least that's my opinion on it. But I think this is where we'll end up, especially when you look at what's going on with the new Facebook quote-unquote whistleblower. I'm not going to cry about being banned on TikTok, but and that's not like my personal account because honestly, I don't think I have one. Interestingly, the Tim Pool hashtag and Timcast have something like, 20 million views or videos or I think it's views. I don't use TikTok because I'm an old man and I briefly use Snapchat, but I do think it's funny that's when things get started, we all use YouTube. And then as we get older, we stay on YouTube and the younger people find different social media platforms. And now I'm like, I don't know anything about that TikTok. I know, but we use it because we use it like everything else. But it is funny when you see people like, Joe Rogan, for instance, doesn't tweet as actively as I do. But he still uses Twitter to a certain extent. Older people will still have a presence, but they're not particularly active. And so I can't use every single platform. But we want to have Timcast IRL having a presence. Well, now we have this Facebook whistleblower, which should give you a better indication of what's to come. The internet needs regulating. Facebook calls on legislators to create standard rules for the web, but hits out at whistleblower Frances Haugen, saying she never met with top executives. Frances Haugen is not a whistleblower. I think you can say technically she might fit the bill, but whistleblowers typically unveil some kind of overt malfeasance, not business practices, right? The issue with this whistleblower is that she's basically saying, and things I agree with, honestly, that, the content, the system they've produced harms young women. Instagram, for instance, making them lose their mind. We agree with that. And that they're, there's a lot of things I disagree on with the whistleblower, but pointing out how Facebook prioritizes algorithmic gains over how people, like what it's doing to people. I think that's a great point. Facebook knows they're making people insane. They know they're driving people to become extremists and hyperpolarized, and they don't care because they're extracting money from the system. The problem is this individual's, it all seems like a ploy, to be honest. Facebook wants regulation. Facebook needs to be like, please stop making us take the hit. Facebook wants to be able to go to the press and say, don't look at us. The government regulates how we operate these things so they can just get money and have a shield from the government. Section 230 provides a shield for Facebook. They can't get sued over what other people say. But the problem is people say things that are objectionable to advertisers. And Facebook then has to say, oh, man, if we remove these people, we're going to get attacked by our users. And if we don't, the advertisers don't want to be here. If the government could just take responsibility for this, no one can fire them. And then we can go, oh, geez, oh, no, oh. Then along comes this woman who basically says everything Facebook agrees with, claiming to oppose Facebook. The internet needs regulating? Okay, so a whistleblower comes out and says, Facebook is doing all these bad things. And then Facebook goes, we agree, regulate us. How convenient. I got to tell you, this one sure is funny. Let me show you some tweets real quick. I get this recommendation. Frances Haugen, verified, follow. What? Why? I've never typed anything about her. I didn't search for her. I said, I thought I was already following Red Steez. That's Stephen L. Miller. I did think I was following him. Apparently I wasn't. Or I got unfollowed from him. No idea why I should follow the fake whistleblower, though, or why Twitter is recommending her. I don't know who she is. I don't care who she is. And her opinion to me is mostly irrelevant. What is relevant is Facebook's opinion as a whole, which seems to agree with this person blowing the whistle. But all of a sudden, verified profile and being recommended to me to follow? Oh, spare me, dude. We got this from Michael Tracy. He said, sorry, but why should this Facebook whistleblower be treated as though she has some profound insight into what constitutes the common good? Very strange when these people hold themselves out as latter-day philosopher kings because they once worked at Yelp. Michael also says, of course, the Facebook whistleblower receives a national red carpet media tour because she finds a way to blame the platform for misinformation and hate, i.e., the things political cultural elites are always looking to find a scapegoat for, to explain trends they don't like. And there we are. He says the natural consequence of this whistleblowing, a term selectively ascribed by the media to confer virtue, is to impose ever more speech regulation and censorship. Exactly what happened post-2016 with frenzied allegations of Russian interference. There's no reason anyone should mindlessly accept whatever this officially anointed whistleblower defines as polarizing content or safety. Intentionally vague weasel words necessarily born of her own subjective political cultural judgment to justify more censorship. It's not whistleblowing to say, I disagree with what this company is doing, so therefore I completely agree with what their plan is for the future. You know what? This really does feel like a setup. It seems like this Facebook whistleblower is the perfect person that Zuckerberg needed to get the regulation he's been asking for over and over again that doesn't seem to come about. Why? Because Republicans are like, nah. Republicans don't want the hard regulation. They don't really want much of anything. They're not going to do anything if they win in 2022, so we can be all excited about a potential red wave, but then roll our eyes when nothing eventually happens. We'll see. Maybe y'all will primary these people like Lindsey Graham. How is he still winning? Why haven't y'all primaried that guy? No joke. But here's what will happen. You see me getting banned from TikTok. As TikTok grows and begins to dominate social media space, people say, why are you even on it? Because we want to be in the conversation. But now Timcast IRL has been removed for hosting conversations outside of what they find acceptable. So eventually, when YouTube and Facebook wane, when Instagram starts to wane and TikTok becomes the new Facebook, we won't be there. And you see how this plays, how this goes. Now, there may be people who will still post some of our content from other places. So, by all means, if you're watching these videos or any of my videos and you've got a TikTok account, post them, whatever. I'm not going to cry about it. You can post the videos. We'll be posting them as well. I guess we're allowed to make a new account. If they ban your account, they don't stop you from making new ones like other platforms do. So it's an interesting rule set. And so we'll try, but we weren't told exactly what we did wrong. We had a podcast with the Fresh and Fit guys. They're a popular podcast. They tried taking those videos down. We had to appeal. So we don't know exactly what the rules are, and they don't really tell you. And they just take your video down. You don't really get a strike or anything. They just say, we're removing this. In the future, there may be a large Timcast.com media presence. There may be a whole bunch of shows under the Timcast.com belt. But the way things are going, forgive me for being a little pessimistic, it seems like we're heading in a direction where the way to censor people is not to ban them because they'll revolt, but it's to reduce the legitimacy and the relevance of the platform those people use. Steven Crowder may be particularly influential. And if people who support him start using TikTok, then, his content will appear there. But there's already people with substantially larger followings and more left-leaning political opinions dominating the platform, in which case, well, there you go. In the long run, you will lose that influence. So you start on YouTube, you build up influence, you hold your opinions, but as time goes on, the machine is shifting everything leftward, promoting leftist personalities. I mean, if you open up a new browser, incognito mode, and go to YouTube, you're going to get all leftist stuff. It's never going to be right-wing stuff. It won't. Because advertisers are beholden to the cultural establishment of the left, and Republicans and the right have just failed miserably at creating that culture, which is why we're doing Timcast.com and making culture and trying to say we're going to produce things that matter. In the long run, if this really all breaks down and we go into two different countries or who knows what happens, there's no culture outside of the leftist-controlled institutions. It didn't used to be that way. Watching Seinfeld, Netflix has Seinfeld on it. And I've never actually watched it. It's like, I'll watch an episode. And I'm like, yeah, this stuff won't fly. 30 Rock. I just binged the whole series again over the past several weeks. And that won't fly this either. In fact, Tina Fey, who I think is tremendously funny, apologized for several of the episodes they've done in a pathetic display. They were making fun of bigots. Or I should say they were making fun, big is probably too vague. They're making fun of people doing offensive things. You can't do that anymore. So they apologized for it. Okay, if that's the direction we're going, then what are we going to end up with? The culture that was actually edgy and challenged these preconceptions. The amazing thing about 30 Rock is that Liz Lemon, the main character, actually says she secretly voted for John McCain. A New York liberal woman said, she said she'd tell all her friends she'll vote Obama, but she'll probably vote for McCain. Wow. That was back in 2008. That's a fascinating thing to say. They would never say anything like that. They would come out now, wouldn't go anywhere near. Could you imagine a character saying, I would tell everyone I'd vote Biden, but I would secretly vote for Trump. They'd be like, why are you a Nazi? This is where the culture is going. The bans are coming. And in a long enough period of time, if YouTube does become less relevant to the national conversation, then they don't need to ban you or me. What'll end up happening is the new platform just won't have us on it. And then young people who are already on TikTok are not going to hear what I have to say. And they shouldn't be forced to, but this is the curation system. Back in the day when they had that broadcast tower and they had those guaranteed channels, there's just those 3 or 4 channels, they knew they could control public opinion. They could say what they wanted, and that was what people believed. And then the internet changed all of that. And in the early days, you had people actively saying, let's get more voices in the mix. Now they're doing the opposite. Now you have a whistleblower saying, this is all harmful content and misinformation, and it needs to be regulated, and it's hate speech. You know what? I'll say this. We do have an interesting problem. On TV, they used to know when children were watching Saturday morning cartoons. So they knew if this is a show that we are running and it's for kids, we can't do certain things per law. On YouTube, kids can watch whenever, wherever, however. And so it's a lot more difficult to regulate this content to make sure kids aren't being negatively impacted. And I think most of us recognize we want kids not to be negatively impacted. Something interesting happened. YouTube said, okay, based on the new law, we cannot collect data on minors, on children, specifically children, and serve targeted ads. So what ends up happening? One of the funniest things ever. It used to be that if you had a video for children, you'd get a commercial for toys. Now that YouTube can't track that data, what happens? Videos for literal children will have ads on it for like life insurance policies. I suppose in essence, that's not a bad thing. I mean, kids should be learning about the real world and like what adults are doing. But it is certainly funny to have adult ads that are just generally targeted, being played in front of children. Like osteoporosis commercials or something, like completely irrelevant to the kids. This is what they're going to grow up watching, I suppose. I don't have all the answers. I do have some predictions. We will get banned. I mean, yeah. I think they're slowly chipping away at removing Project Veritas. Veritas still has enough influence among enough people to push these stories out on social media, but so long as the system keeps doing what it's doing, this is a losing battle. In the end, there may be a fracturing of the states, a great national divorce, who knows? I don't have all the answers, like I said. However, does Texas have a social network? No. So there's some questions that are being asked. What happens after a great divorce? Is there going to be a cultural engine for the right or for the new country? Will there be a tech engine? Apparently there won't be. People will still be using all the institutions culturally controlled by the left. I still don't think that means it's a bad thing. And I don't know if we're going in the direction of two different countries. Perhaps what we really need is just stronger federalism. We need the federal government to back off and let states just be states, and then we're fine. Or maybe what happens is you guys support projects like Timcast.com. You know why? We have 2 nonprofits already filed. I think we even have a website for a couple of them. I think for them both, I'm not sure. Truth in Media, which is funny because it wasn't my idea, but it's Tim. Truth in Media. And because we have a team and we have a board of directors, it's a nonprofit. The goal is going to be to fact check news outlets and provide ratings, and also fact check the fact checkers and call them out when they're lying and trying to manipulate. And then we have the Open Network Foundation, which is people volunteering their time. We are going to be hiring people and funneling money from, when you make memberships, we're going to do what we can to make sure we're contributing legally donations to the nonprofit so that it can create open source software. When you go to Walmart and you see the self-checkout, those machines run on Linux, open source operating systems. You know why? It's free. Why should Walmart's going to be like, how much will it cost us to use Windows on these machines? And they're going to be like, oh, that's going to be millions. Now, some stores, maybe Walmart, use Windows XP or some really old system because I don't know if they use XP anymore, but they're like, we don't want to pay for up-to-date licensing, so give us the old crap. We just need an operating system for these computers. But I think most people, most big companies use Linux because it's free. And they just would hire someone to develop the app they need for Linux and then run it on their machines for free, no licensing charge. We want to do that for social media. So we have already been building out social networking technology to attach to the Fediverse, a decentralized network of various servers, so that you can host your own web presence. Now, Gab exists on the Fediverse, and that's basically your Twitter. You can't be banned if you have your own server. Gab could ban you, but if you're on Gab, other nodes could ban the Gab node, but they have no authority over you. It's a good step in the right direction. This could be the optimism and the light at the end of the tunnel. What we're working on now with the Open Network Foundation is a Patreon-like subscription service platform so that you can't be banned. Because when we saw Lauren Southern and Carl Benjamin have their incomes purged, said, hey, that's a bad thing. So what we're going to make is, what we're building is a way for you to just launch, your own website. You buy server space or host your own server. And then you install this package, which is an open source version of a subscription social media service. And then you can sync whatever account you want for, your income. And then people can become members. So I take a look at these other platforms like Subscribestar, Patreon, or Locals. We don't need these centralized platforms. Now, I think, Locals does a better job and good for Dave Rubin and all that stuff. Congratulations on all the success with that. But I look at it as another centralized network. Now, what we need is a way that people can't be banned because Locals can still ban you. I'm not saying Dave would, but I certainly wonder what would happen if MasterCard went to Locals and said, if you don't ban this person, we'll cut off your service entirely. Let's talk about our system. The system we're building makes no profit for us. We are losing money by doing it because we believe in the mission and we want to genuinely make the world a better place, and we have the means to do so. When you create your own open network node, no one can ban you but, your server company, I guess. Find a new server host. If you get banned by your hosting provider, then say, I'll go to a different company. And then boom, your website's instantly back up. You can eventually get attacked by Google and these other platforms that want to ban you and all that stuff, but no one has the singular authority to ban you. And that's the point. And then when you go to the Central Hub website that tracks the nodes, you will see all of these nodes that can't be banned. Now, people could create in the Fediverse principal, like semi-central nodes where it's like someone could create Node Hub or something. And then you can choose to follow whoever you want that exists in the decentralized universe. That Node Hub could ban somebody, but then you need only go to Gab. Now, Gab's not going to ban people because they believe in freedom. You see how this works? It creates an open and independent social networking system, and we're expanding upon it. Hopefully, this becomes something as powerful as crypto and protects people from censorship. Fingers crossed. Because otherwise, you look at what's happening, and we'll be banned too. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.